and I'll start sharing my presentation also. Okay, so I think among other things, did you guys download the thing that I sent you from Moodle website? Did you try to run this code? Hello? Let me call someone. Okay, so Jairam T, G3.
Modal problem is there.
What problem is there?
Modal, sir, sometimes not opening.
I see. So, so you were not able to, I think this is Sairam, right? You were not
Yes,
able
sir.
to download it, Sairam?
No, sir.
Okay. So in that case, do you have access to chat here? Can you?
No.
Okay. So let me talk to someone else also, Sairam. Let's see if anyone else has this problem. So
Okay,
did anyone else have this problem? Hello. So okay, what about this Jairam? Jairam? Jairam.
Yes, sir.
So were you able to download the program that I shared with you through
Yes, sir.
Moodle?
Hello.
Were you able to run it? Do you have a laptop or are you doing it on a phone,
Sir, I
Jairam?
sir, I downloaded, but sir, I'm using in more phone, sir.
Okay. Okay, did it work?
Hello.
Yes. Did you try to open it through Google Colab? Is it working?
Hello.
We can.
Sir, I have downloaded, but it is not operating in my phone, sir. And meanwhile, I'm using phone only, sir.
Jairam, I think. Do you know how to open it in Colab?
Yes, sir.
And it's not working. Hello.
Sir, your voice is breaking, sir.
Well, I think we can hear your voice fine. Where are you now, Jairam? Where are you from?
Sir, I'm from Andaman, sir.
I see. Okay.
Hello.
Okay, Jairam. So far, are you able to follow the class? Any problems there?
Sir, actually, sir, your voice is breaking, sir.
Is it only now or is it always like that?
No, sir, I can't hear your voice, sir. Clearly, your voice is breaking, sir.
Okay, Sairam, can you hear my voice fine? Do you have a problem
No, no,
also?
sir, it is not only, sir.
No, no, I'm
yes,
asking.
sir. Fine. Good.
Okay. Okay, Jairam. Okay, I'll leave you alone then. I don't know if it is true or not, but since you say you have, since you say that you are having trouble hearing my voice, I'll leave you alone for today. Um, I think, is it in this section somebody was volunteering to get the opinions from the students and pass it on to me? Who was that? I think I saved his number also. Okay, so let me hear from someone else. We'll call Tarun Yadav. Is Tarun Yadav here?
Yes, sir.
Tarun, so were you able
Yes, sir.
to were you able to download the thing that I sent you?
My Moodle is not working, sir.
For you also Moodle is not working. But
Yes,
Jairam
sir.
said he was
What?
able to do that. Maybe he's confused. Maybe he did it. I don't know. So how should I share this with you then, Tarun? Who is the
Sir,
CR?
sir, Send in mail, sir. Otherwise, put it in chat box, sir. Sir. Otherwise, put the drive link in the chat box, sir.
Drive link.
Yes, sir. You first keep that thing in the drive and then share that link in the chat box, sir.
If you have access to chat, I can directly send the file through chat box, I think. Let me see.
Sir, we have access, sir.
1 second. Oh, you have access to chat box now, is it?
Yes, sir.
In that case, I know I've been wanting to do these surveys. Let me check. To change something here.
Sir, I kept in my WhatsApp group, sir. Or
Okay,
class WhatsApp.
Thank you, Trilok. I think everyone in the class is in that group, is it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay then. I think I request everyone to try running that program, and I think let us go with. And if you have any issues, please let me know tomorrow. Tomorrow we have a class. Okay. In that class, we'll look into those. If you have any difficulty, we'll address that tomorrow. Okay. Now that being said, I think in the yesterday's class, I think I was typing live, importing the libraries, and we discussed about the round off error with a very simple example, a simple subtraction. In that subtraction, we thought that there was a very small round off error, negligible in fact. But that someone tried to ask something. Sai Teja, you want to say something? Okay. Okay. So then for the sake of demonstration, I told you that instead of using the default representation of the variable, if you force the Python to use 32-bit floating point number, then this error will be little more. No, actually a lot more compared to the original error. See here, 2.002. Oh, this is float 16, I think. With float 32, will not do that anywhere. That is, and then we had discussed about machine epsilon. I told you machine epsilon is kind of a standard thing for a given notation, which tells you what is the maximum, which tells you the upper bound, or what is the maximum possible value of the error you could expect as a result of round off and chop off. That information is given by machine epsilon, and I showed you how that can be for a given number system. I think we did for two different number systems yesterday, float 32 and also the regular. See, and also for the regular one, 32-bit float and 16-bit float. Okay, so then we talked about the magnification of round off error with large number of computations. Now here here you see that with the default one, the error is very small if you do one computation. But what is important is if you do a series of computations in which the output of one computation is then used to get the output for the next computation and take that output and use it in the next computation, take that output and use it in the next computation. If you do a series of computations like that, even though each single computation is only causing a small amount of round off error, over a period of a number of computations in series, that error could grow, could get magnified, could get multiplied, compounded, and then you have much larger error. That I shown you, where I think we were trying to calculate the value of n by d, but instead of simply dividing it, we are like doing 1 by d and add 1 by d to another 1 by d to another 1 by d, like that n times you will get. So the difference is doing it this way, this is a true value simply. But if you take 1 by d and add it n times, you're supposed to get the same number. But I've shown you that this becomes especially a problem when you use 32-bit floating point number. I've shown you that if you do it that way, then there is a good bit of error. If you look at the absolute value of error, it looks like 339. You might be very much worried about 339 error. That looks like a large number. No, it's not that large a number in terms of percentage, because the number that you tried to calculate was 100,000. When you're talking about 100,000, it's like this. When you're talking about 1 lakh rupees, 340, maybe not much. Okay. In fact, if we did the relative error, it is 0.3%. Okay, that's not even 1%, because 1% of 100,000 is 1,000, and this is not even 1,000. This is 1/3 of 1,000, which is 0.33%. Okay. Then we discussed about subtractive cancellation. To show this one, I have used an example from quadratic equation solution. Here's the quadratic equation, and this simple quadratic equation, if I want you to solve it, by hand, you can look at it and you'll say, okay, this looks like x minus 5,000 times x minus 0.002 equals 0, and the roots of these equations are x equals 5,000 and x equals 0.002. Whereas if the computer was going to solve it, it may not be able to do a factorization like this and arrive at the solution. What what the computer will do is it will use this kind of a formula, minus b plus or minus b square minus 4ac square root divided by 2a. In this formula, what happens is there is a subtraction. And now I'll explain you why I have used these specific coefficients. I have chosen these specific coefficients such that, see, b is 5,000.002. b square will be 5,000.002 squared minus 4ac. A is 1, c is 10, minus 40. So 5,000 square, that is 5 million. That is, 5 million is 5,000,000. From 5,000,000, if you simply subtract 40 and take a square root again, that will almost be equal to 5,000, right? So this one and this one, the determinant and also this one are very close to each other. They're very similar numbers. When you subtract those two numbers, you run into the danger of incurring some round off error. All right. So I told you that in one of these roots, you will do that. You'll have to subtract b and square root of b square minus 4ac, and that root you'll get an error, a small error, because of subtractive cancellation. Okay. Another way of writing the same formula is, if you want to, I think you must have done this in school. If you multiply numerator and denominator with b, for example, the one root which is b plus square root of b square minus 4ac divided by 2a. If you want to change it in a different way, you can multiply that with b minus square root of b square minus 4ac. What that does is, the numerator becomes minus 4a and the denominator will become b plus square root of b square minus 4ac. Anyway, so if you do that, this is the equation you get. What changes here is, whichever root had the subtractive cancellation affecting the accuracy in the first formulation, that will not be affected by subtractive cancellation in this one, but the other root will be affected by the subtractive cancellation. And I've shown you that. And again, here I have used float 32 just so that we magnify the effect of round off, because with the default one, the round off error is very small. It is there, but it is not so dramatic that you will notice. But this one, since we are forcing it to use a more restrictive precision, you'll see that. Okay. So So there are two methods. This is one method. This is the determinant I'm calculating. One method, root 1 and root 2. Here, root 2 has this subtractive cancellation because b is minus, right? B is a negative number and d is a obviously positive number, square root. So for this root, root 2 will get affected by the subtractive cancellation. In the second formulation, once again, when you're trying to add these, root 1 will get affected by the subtractive cancellation. I think I have done this before yesterday. You will see that. Now in the first formula, instead of 5000, we got this number. And if you look at the error, this is the error. Or this is the error, relative error. It's very small. Okay, 5 times 10 to the negative 7. Very small. Whereas root 2, instead of 0.02, you got this number. If you look at the percentage error, here you are making 1.17 percentage error because of the subtractive cancellation. Okay. In the second formulation, where the subtractive cancellation is supposed to affect the root 1, there you see instead of 5000, you are getting 5059. The root was 5000, but because of the round off error in subtractive cancellation, this we got to be 5059, and the error there is 1.18%. But in this second formulation, 0.002, it was almost exactly calculated. The error is negligible there, 4.68, 7.54. You see, in one formulation, root 1 was accurately calculated, root 2 was there was error of 1%. In the second formulation, root 1 was calculated accurately, root 2 got calculated accurately, and root 1 there was an error. The difference here is that whichever root is affected, whichever formula is affected by subtractive cancellation, that seem to have a lower precision or lower accuracy. Okay. Then I think this was the last thing we did in the last class. We were looking at Taylor series approximations of e to the x. I told you 1 plus x, 1 plus x by x squared by 2, 1 plus x squared. So these are, depending upon where you're truncating, where you're cutting the series, you'll get, a one term approximation for e to the x, or a two term approximation for the e to the x, a three term, four term. Yesterday in the class, what I did was, I did them separately. Oh, not this one. Anyway, I'll open that now. Okay, and I showed. But here in the notebook that I have sent you, I have used a loop. What this loop does is, each time this loop runs, it calculates the value. See, what I have done is, I have created an X-array because I'm trying to plot the e to the x function as well as the approximations to that, the polynomial approximations to that function e to x, and also the different polynomials that could be used as an approximation for that e to x together. But we have to decide on a range, so I decided on this range 0 to 4. In that range we'll generate the plots. Okay, so for each of them, I think yesterday I have gone step by step. You can see it. So each time we go through this loop, it will calculate the, for example, when n equals to 0, it will calculate the first term, and then it adds to the sum. Next, see, because for the first iteration, everywhere we are saying 1. Ex is a constant equal to 1. Second, we say ex equals 1 plus x. So it's same as before, but now we're adding x. And in the three-term solution, same as before, you're adding x squared plus 2, x squared divided by 2. And then same as before, okay, I forgot x here. Interesting. I'll add it now. Okay, there's a mistake there. You can, well, you'll know. Then they're same as before, x cube. So I use that instead of repeating all the calculations. You take whatever is the previous solution, you add to it the new term, nth term. So you'll get the better solution, and then you're adding that better solution to the plot, and you will get the with the different plots. Again, this is same as what I had done yesterday, but a little bit more clean in presentation, and I have used loops also. So I think, see, if you remember in the yesterday's class, I have done it till 3 or 4 terms, if I believe. But since I'm doing it in the loop here, in this notebook I shared with you, I was able to go till 8 terms also. Now you have it with you. If you want, you can try 20 terms and all. You will see that the more terms you add, the more accurate it will become. So this is the e to the x, that green color one. That is the e to the x function. With the simplest of the approximations, e to the x is 1. It is very bad. It's only close at near the base point, but far away, it's way off. When you have 2 terms, see this orange one, it's little better. And then this dark green one, little bit better. Red green, 4 terms, little bit better. The purple one with 5 terms, little bit better. And the brown one with 6 terms, little bit better. You see, the more terms you add to the approximation, the more terms, the higher the order of polynomial that you're using to approximate e to the x, the better, the curve gets closer to the e to the x. Okay. And another observation is, generally, if you look at the error will be very small, close to the base point, and far away from the base point, it is going to be more. Okay. Is that understood? Any questions there? This was the, I didn't mean to do that, but it's okay. 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 So this was what we were working on yesterday. Like I told you, that's where we stopped yesterday. Different approximations of see here. Okay, so see, for you to understand, initially what I had done was I did it outside the loop, but now okay, all this, see, we are repeating the same thing again and again for one term, 2 terms, 3 terms, 4 terms, like that, and then we're adding, see, 1 term. Okay, now what I'll do here is, so that you get little bit comfortable with the plotting part, with the loops. See, I'll show you how all these could be can be put into a loop. Okay, so what I'll do is, I'll say s equals 0, np zeros, np dot zeros. Now I'm starting with an array, and the size is going to be same size as x, length of x. Now whatever the size of this x array, it's like a mesh file, a grid file. We're calculating for these grid points, and I told you the grid starts from 0, and it in amounts of 0.001 it increases, it goes all the way till 4. That is the grid we have. Whatever that grid, same size as we have taken. Okay, and then I'll do this for I in range. Now you can decide, you'll say 10. will go up till 10 terms. Okay, we'll say that, and then here I'll say, see, this is what I'll say, nth term. Nth term equals, if you remember the series, you know, what is the nth term in the exponential series? See, x raised to n divided by n factorial. Okay, so we'll do that. X raised to n divided by, I think, you know, math dot where's the factorial function? I don't know exactly, but I think since I done it here, I'll remember. Yeah, math dot factorial of n. Factorial of n. Okay, that is the nth term. So all you have to do is sum equals, or no, actually I could say that sum equals sum plus nth term. Okay. Another way of saying the same thing is, no, anyway, I'll, you know, we'll leave it here. No, you see, I think in the code I've written it this way: sum plus equals to nth term. So the plus equals to operator, it does the same thing as, you know, if a plus equals to b, that means a equals to a plus b. That's the meaning of that operator. Anyway, so that's it. See, you have that. So now I'll say plt dot plot, okay, x comma sum. And if you want to do the label, no, I'll create a label, because see, when we are doing it separately, so we have to plot it 4 times, and we have to calculate this thing 4 times. If you want to do it 10 times, you have to do 10 plots. But now I'm putting in the loop. So there's only one statement I give for plotting. That same statement will run 10 times. But each time it runs, this sum is going to be different, and the label has to be different also. So I'll create the label here. I'll say lab. No, I'll say tag equals. No, I'll create label. For example, using this one, I'll say string of I plus 1, because you know that looping variable starts with 0, right? So when it is 0, that's the first term. When it is 1, that is second term. So I said I plus 1. It convert to string plus, I'll add this term approximation. Okay, so what that does is label equals tag. See, because see, now that we're putting in the loop, every time the code runs, loop runs, it plots a different curve. Okay, first time it, you know, the sum only has one first term, so it's a one term approximation. But and then we want to change this tag also automatically. So I'm using this command here to automatically generate the tag depending upon which iteration it is running. Okay, that's it. So now see all this, I'll comment it out now because we don't need that anymore. With this we'll keep. Okay, see, all that is done by this simple loop here. You may not think it is simple now, but imagine with this loop I'm doing 10, or I could easily change it to 20 also if I wanted to. Okay, you will see this. I'll run it. the convenience when dealing with the looping is that int too large to convert to float. Why would that be? Let me see. How did I do here? It worked here. I did the same thing. Let me see if I look at the call stack maybe. Okay, not n. I think this one has to be n. Okay, now I get it. Let me see how I did that there. String of n plus 1. Yeah, that's. Yeah, again, this is n. Okay, I'm supposed to call it sum here. Okay, there. That was an error, but now it will work fine. See, I could actually do with the 10 terms also. And you see, as you add more and more terms, it becomes more and more accurate. Okay. See what you had done separately. I put it in loop now. See, it's so easy now. If I only want 5 terms, then I'll simply say, okay, only run till 5 here. And it will only give it 5 term approximation. See, only 5 terms. Even the 5th one is not good. If you want 20, well, you just have to ask. Computers don't complain. That's the best part. Look at that. You can barely see anything. It added all those 20. Okay. Now, another important thing that you might be interested in is, here I'm just showing you visually what is happening and all. I think let me go back to 10. I think 10 was a good number. Okay. Now you see, when you increase here, what you're saying is you're simply looking at it visually and see how it is getting better, the curve, the shape of the curve. If you wanted to see how the error at one single point, let's say your goal is to identify how much error you will make if you are trying to calculate e to the 4 using these polynomials. Okay, e to the 4. E to the 4 is the end of your thing, the last one. So I'll do this. At the end of each iteration, I'll E4. E4, I'll say of I equals, I'll make it sum, and we want last element in sum. If you want a last element in an array in Python, you could do this. Okay, so see, it has the sum array. It has some 4,000 or something. Okay, 4,000 numbers, let's say. Sum array of 0 is this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or like that. And this is the last one. If you want to address the last one directly, you can simply say sum of I minus 1. Okay, now, so we have stored this. I'll create that array. P4 equals np dot zeros of 10. I'm saying 10 because I'll do it with 1 term, 2 term, 3 term, all the way till 10 terms. Okay, so for each iteration we are saving for that approximate value. For example, this is what I'm doing. I think so you understand. Okay, so I'm calculating E4 using this approximation, then E4 using this approximation, an exponent of 4, e raised to 4, and e raised to 4 with this approximation, e raised to 4 with this approximation, and then I'll compare how does this e raised to 4 change for different number of terms that you use. Okay, so that plot is what I'll do here now. So this plot is shown. So I'll create another plot. plt dot plot range 1 to 11, and I'll tell you why that also later. Then this one I want an error, so I'll say absolute of E4 is your approximate value. The true value is going to be, I'll do this, I think it will be in math dot exponent of 4. Okay. This will plot something. Obviously there's something wrong here. Instead of, I think it should not be I, it should be N. There. Okay. See, when you only had one term, the error is very high, and then the error reduced, and it becomes very small when you're using 10 terms. Okay, and I could use actually more terms. And see, in this one, if you look at the X label, there is going to be number of terms. And the Y label, you can say error. Okay, the notebook I gave you, I have done a much more cleaner plotting. You see, it has 2 axes, absolute error, relative error. There is a title, and I encourage you to go through what I have done and try to play with it and try to understand how the plots will change if you change certain things there. Okay, but I'll not go into all those details because it will take too much time in the class. But if there's any specific question you have, I can answer. But this is what it is. Now I did only till 8 terms there, and here, see, the more terms you use in the polynomial expression, the smaller error you'll have when you estimate the value for exponent of 4 using Taylor series. Okay, so what that is actually, for exponent of 4, for this function you're approximating using a polynomial, this polynomial, and what you're getting is you're getting a decent enough approximation. So it's not exactly the same, but it's very close, right? And the more numbers of the things you have, it better it is. Any questions there? Anyone? Are you guys paying attention at all? There are 20 students. Okay. Okay. No questions, is it? We will move on to the next one. And if you remember, I told you that the real importance of Taylor series for engineering analysis is in finding out the truncation error. Finding the truncation error. So I told you in the class, I think we did this derivation. I told you that this formula where we have df dx equals f at x plus delta x minus f at x divided by dx delta x. I said that is a numerical formula and it has an error of the order of delta x. I told you what that means is the error depends upon delta x linearly. Okay, even though I did not do this, we'll do this in a later class. Another formula for df dx at x, another formula is this one, f at x plus delta x minus f at x minus delta x divided by 2 delta x. This is another alternative formula. Okay, again, when we do numerical differentiation in a later unit, I'll show the derivation to you, but for this method, the truncation error is of the order delta x square. See, this and this looks similar, right? F at x plus delta x minus f at x divided by delta x, and here f at x plus delta x minus f at x minus delta x divided by 2 delta x. But this formula is a more accurate formula. It has an error of second order, or the error is proportional to square of the delta x. Okay. So this is the derivations we have done using Taylor series. Now this I have definitely done in the class. This I have not done it, but I will do it in a later unit. Okay. Now we'll check this story here. Now we'll see how this works out here. Now what I'll do is, I think what I have done. Okay, what I'll do here is I want to calculate, I think what I wanted to show you here is that in this case, error is linear or is proportional to delta x. In this case, error is proportional to delta x square. Okay, that's what I'll show. And for this, what I'll use here is, let us try to find the derivative of logarithm of x. What is the derivative of logarithm of x? What is the derivative there?
1 by x.
1 by x. 1 by x. If I want to calculate derivative of logarithm of x at x equals to 2, then the derivative is 0.5 because it will be 1 by 2. Now, what I'll do is I'll try to calculate that derivative using these two numerical formulae. Okay, and then I'll see how that numerical derivative compares to the analytical derivative. What is the error in it? And then I'll also check how that error changes with delta x. Okay, so here's what I'll do. Okay, so this is arbitrary. When I think when you play with the code, please feel free to change it. But let us choose x equals to 2. I want to calculate derivative of log of x at x equals to 2. Okay, so true value for this derivative is simply 1 by 2 or 1 by x. Okay, no problem, right? That's the derivative, true value of derivative. Now we want to do the numerical derivative, but I want to do the derivative calculation for different values of dx. So let me choose a range of dx's. Okay, dx equals np dot a range. Again, this creates a an array. I want to start my dx to start from 0.001, let me say 0.0001, no problem, comma, all the way till 0.1, and with an increment of 0.0001. Okay, so it will create different dx's. The smallest dx is 0.0001, and then 0.0002, 0.0003. Likewise, it will go all the way till 0.1. Okay, those are my dx's. Now I'll calculate two numerical derivatives. The first numerical derivative is, I'll do again, basically it is this, right? The first order numerical derivative, I told you it is x plus dx minus log of x and then divided by dx. Okay, so this is the formula. But since my x, x is okay, x is a scalar, but dx is a vector. Since I am trying to take the logarithm of a vector, I have to use np from the log function from the np library, not the log function, not the default log function, because that is not defined for arrays. Okay, this, and I'll copy this. I'll do the new derivative also. Control C, Control V. I'll do the second order derivative. Second order derivative is the same formula. Only thing is x minus dx. See, you say logarithm of function at x plus delta x minus function at x minus delta x divided by 2 times delta x. This is a different formula for the derivative. You remember this? I think we'll do that little later. Okay. So error 1. Error in first formula is going to be equal to n. Now I'll do this. Absolute of the way we do it is absolute of nd1 minus true value divided by true value. Okay. That's the relative error. Similarly, I'll copy that, Control C, and I'll do the error 2, the second error. Error 2 is nd2. What is the error in the numerical derivative calculated using the first derivative formula? What is the error in the numerical derivative calculated using the second derivative formula? When you combine those two, you'll get two errors. Now it is time to plot. Now I'll just to show you different ways of plotting it, I'll show this subplots plt subplot. I'll do 1 2 1. Now what this does is I'm asking the matplotlib to do a grid of plots, and the grid has 1 row and 2 columns of plots. In that grid, I'm saying let us work on the first plot first, and that first plot is, I'll say plt plot dx. So see, this nd1 is an array. For different values of dx, we are calculating derivatives. So as a function of dx, I said dx comma e1, error 1. Okay, and then I'll plot the other one, Control C. And here I'll say 2. So what this says is make a grid of plots with 1 row and 2 columns, and within that grid, now let us work on the second plot in that grid. In that second plot, we'll plot the error in the second order formula. I'll run this. Let's see how many errors we get. Okay, no errors. It's good. Only thing is, I think the sizes are a little off. So what I'll do is, I think there is a little command here, which I use to adjust the sizes. Okay, so I'll use that command. This command, what it does, play with them. There is no point in memorizing anything because it's not easy to memorize all the possibilities. But I played with it. I know to adjust the size, I have used that there. So you got those two plots. So see, what we did was we are calculating the numeric, the derivative of log of x, this function, at a point 2. The true value for that is simply 1 by x. That's true value. The numerical values, we use two different formulae. The first difference formula, log of x plus delta x minus log of x divided by delta x. But we did this for an array of delta x's. See that delta x's were changing from 0.0001 to 0.1. In that range, we had taken. If you want to make it more interesting, we'll make it go to 0.4 also, no problem. Okay. So you had done that. No, I think this doesn't tell me a good story. I'll only go to 0.2 because it has to be reasonably small. If it is not too small, it will not work. Okay, there. Okay, so for different values of delta x, we calculated what the first order formula will give, what the second order formula will give. Then we found out what is the error in the first order formula at different delta x's and what is the error in the second order formula at the different delta x's. Then we are plotting those two. We plotted those two, and then what do you see from these plots? What are the conclusions? So this is the size of the delta x, and this is the error. Okay, I'll show you the nice plots I made. Okay, how to put the, putting all these additional things. I'll not go through it right now. You go through the program and you figure out how I have added all this. This is called annotation. It's very important. When you do a graph, it's very important to clearly label them with everything. Okay. Now, so when you look at these two, say everything is clear. What you see is error in numerical derivative, percentage error, and then delta x. The grid you have used to calculate the delta, and here delta x. So can someone tell me what conclusions you can make from this error? Anyone? Okay. No, I'll quickly, because I don't want to waste much time. See, one thing you can clearly say is first order formula, the error is high. Look at this error. It is 0.08 and below, and here it is 2.5. You see the numbers. The errors are less in second order formula, and more importantly, the first order formula, when you reduce the delta x, it reduced linearly, and that is the meaning of first order. Okay, it is linearly proportional to delta x, and here is it linear? It is quadratic. The error is reducing as a power of delta x. Okay, if you want to check this, you can do it this way. What I'll do here is not this one. Okay, this one. See, this is nonlinear. So it is proposed. Now, what the Taylor series formula tells is for the second order formula, it will be proportional to a delta x square. So I'll try to do that. I'll plot, instead of plotting it against dx, I'll plot it against dx square. Dx square. See, now on the x-axis, instead of delta x, we will have delta x square, and then this should look like a straight line. See, now this looks like a straight line also, but here the x-axis is delta x square. If you plot as a delta x, see, here it is proportional to delta x, here it is proportional to delta x square. Now again, the reason I'm stressing this is because this is what the numerical truncation error. No, the Taylor series. From Taylor series, we found out that the truncation error has to be first order in this case, or proportional to the delta x, and in this case it is second order or proportional to the delta x square. Okay, I have another class immediately following this class, so I'll stop it here. If you have any questions, please let me know quickly. Are you able to, Sairam, are you able to follow these things?
Yes, sir.
Are you sure?
Yes, sir.